We are already off to a great start. This is Built Different. Of course, we are your Friday night guys underneath the Friday night lights. That is Justus, aka the GM. I am Jake, aka the Northeastern Nostradamus. And as I said before, the show is Built Different, and we've got a really good show for you guys tonight. Even though Justus, I believe, is trying to portray the ghost of Bill's seasons past tonight. So I will be the one on camera, and Justus will be speaking to me from the ether. So, Justus, let's get into the welcome, buddy. How are you doing?
What's going on, Jake? I'm good. Having a long day, but you know what? We trumped through it because it's Friday and we get to sleep. Well, not really, but theoretically, you get to sleep in tomorrow. Yeah, man. I thought that I would give my best Bruce Nolan impression, and
Okay. You're doing really good.
Go faceless. Go faceless first episode. You know what I mean? And we're gonna have ourselves a little 3 a.m. Episode tonight. We're gonna take it all the way there just for spin.
Yeah, I know. We are just already because Spin's already in here. So
yeah, Spin is active already.
He is already active in the comments section, and I love that. I love the energy. It's Jets week. I mean, it's Friday, so technically, it's been Jets week for a while, but for us now, we get to say it's Jets week. So, Justus, did you know football came back last night?
Are you serious? Did something interesting happen? Did the Kings of the Mountain and the 20-0 Kansas City Chiefs with the all-time greatest quarterback in the world, did they lose or something?
Did they lose or did the Detroit Lions win? Justus. What was it? What really was it? Let's talk about some stuff that happened around the NFL. Of course, football is actually back. So that means that we get to spend every Sunday until February enjoying football, and I cannot wait.
Yes.
It just feels great, dude. And some things happened yesterday. The first one I want to talk about is we must acknowledge newly paid, highest paid quarterback or player in the league, Joe Burrow. Justus. That deal came out. We've heard for years, Joe Burrow's going to take a team-friendly deal that allows them to keep all their players. But after seeing that number yesterday, I mean, that's not realistic, is it?
Well, before we start, I do want to send my love, my thoughts, and prayers to the Williams family for Mike Williams and the incident that happened with him. Very, very sad news. So we send our deepest, love and prayers to them and everything. But as far as Joe Burrow getting paid, he deserved it. I mean, he went to 2 back-to-back AFC Championship games. He went to a Super Bowl. His defense carried him, but he went. You know what I mean? So he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Granted, he has the best talent in the league to work with, but he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And this was inevitable. He was going to get to the bag. So, I feel like they announced it when Patrick Mahomes took the field for a reason.
Beautiful. That was beautiful.
I was not mad at that. But yeah, man, like I say, he deserved it. But Cincinnati is going to shoot themselves in the foot because what they're going to do is they're going to forget about T. Higgins, and then everything is going to come crumbling down. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I really think that Joe Burrow, of course, my boss is a Cincinnati Bengals fan, so I talked to him a good bit about it today, and I was like, he deserves it, man. Like, I mean, like, if you're like making a list of the top quarterbacks in the AFC, he's in it. So, like, you pay that kind of player when you have them. So I wasn't surprised by that at all. The thing that surprised me the most, Justus, is hearing all the excuses for the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Lions.
Disgusting.
I am not one here to say that we've never used excuses, but usually we always say there's no excuses, right? You didn't have Travis Kelce, but you still had every other weapon that you were going to have outside of Chris Jones. And the Lions went toe-to-toe with him. Like, it was not a question. Was it the greatest game to watch? No. But did I have a lot of fun watching them lose to the Detroit Lions? Oh, yeah, dude. This jersey might as well have been like just the powder blue and silver yesterday, because I was the biggest Lions fan in the world. Justus, they don't get it done against the Lions. What is your takeaways with that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was a Lions fan. I had made 2 bets. All I needed was Patrick Mahomes to throw for 275 yards. And then there was another bet where I needed to throw for 275. And then for the Chiefs to score 24 points. I will gladly lose my money and let them lose and fall behind in the standings. I would much rather that happen than for me to make that money back. My Bills fandom means more to me than that $250.
There you
So
go.
I'm super okay with that. But as far as the excuses, it was really, like you hear when people are, how can I say this? People are a little, they like to ride horses. Let's put it that way,
Yeah.
And they were riding Mahomes' horse a lot last night. And at the end of the game, Mike Tirico, who was a brilliant broadcaster,
I couldn't believe it when I heard it.
He said, of course, this has an asterisk next to it because of no Travis Kelce and no Chris Jones. Excuse me?
Dude.
An asterisk? Do you know that the Lions were without maybe the most dynamic receiver to come out of last year's draft?
Yeah.
Do you know how many teams have to deal with injuries, but because the defending champions don't have 2 players, the whole 2 players were going to make up the come on now. And as bad as you want to say Kadarius Toney was, Marvin Jones was worse.
Oh,
Marvin
dude, they
Jones
both look terrible.
Kadarius Toney shot the Chiefs in the foot. Marvin
Yeah.
Jones tried to end the Lions' life last night. He was just making terrible decision after terrible decision, fumbling, returning punts from the 2-yard line. I'm saying, like, bro, get him off the field for real. This is ridiculous. And I understand Kadarius Toney was bad, but you know who else doesn't have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones? The Lions. We gonna sit here and say like, oh, the Chiefs only didn't win because they didn't. No, the Chiefs didn't win because they weren't as prepared as the Lions were.
Yeah.
They made less plays than the Lions did. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah. And the Lions are a team for the last 2 years that have been a team that's always in it. If you let them in it at the end, there's always a chance that they're going to win. And right there, I just do not like hearing a well-respected broadcaster such as Mike Tirico say things that I would hear in a Kansas City Chiefs comment section on the app formerly known as Twitter. So, like, asterisks, buddy, the Houston Astros World Series has an asterisk next to it. Not a football game where a couple of players were injured, okay? If Mahomes can't outduel the Detroit Lions without Travis Kelce, I'm sorry. There's no asterisks. It was a bad game for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right? No asterisks. They lost. And they're not putting an asterisk by it. So I don't know. I loved seeing the Kansas City loss. I want to talk about the refs here. Yeah, the refs were absolutely atrocious in this game, Justus. I don't know how many times I could have seen another play go off where the right tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs was blatantly false starting. Blatantly. Like, you could see the refs staring at him and they weren't calling it. Like, is this a problem that we're going to have and we're going to see? Because I don't know of any time where I've seen it. And to be fair, the refs have been terrible the last couple of years as well. But, like, have you ever seen anything as egregious as the first half and most of the third quarter of them not calling a single false start?
I will say that for the most part, I can't. It's been a while since I've seen the Chiefs game where I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, yo, these refs are not calling anything.
Yeah.
Like, they're just letting them do whatever the hell they want. It's been a while since I've seen a game and I didn't think that. I think that most of the times when I watch the Chiefs play, but last night was absolutely ridiculous. It was on national television. This is not a 1 p.m. game. This is not even a 4:25 p.m. game.
Everybody's watching this one.
A Thursday night football game, the first game of the 2023-2024 NFL season, and you are putting this horrible product out onto the field. This man is false starting every single snap, and it does not get called until the very end of the game, which it got called at a crucial moment, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
They were holding all over the place. Another one that didn't get called all game until a very crucial moment, which perfectly fine with. But, like, be a little more consistent. I honestly believe, like, if the Chiefs would have been held accountable for everything they did, I really don't know if they would have been in that game.
Yeah, I don't know either how that game ends. You know, if the refs are absolutely perfect, and the refs are never going to be perfect, but something as blatantly as that was just egregious to sit there and watch, and everybody saw it. Everybody knows. Like, you had commentators from all the different, brands, ESPN, Fox Sports, all being like, "Oh, come on, what is this?" Like,
And
everybody but Nick Wright.
One thing that really worried me was there was I forgot who it was, but there was a specific, like, Bengals Twitter account. Like, it wasn't like, an official Bengals GM or whatever. It was kind of like the Buffalo rumblings of the Bengals, right?
Okay, yeah.
And they were like, guys, let's not complain too much. Our tackle does that too. And they showed video evidence of their tackle doing it. And I'm sitting up here like, first of all, I would never put my team on blast like this. Secondly, what the hell? Like, why is this a thing? And why is it okay? Like,
right.
you can't just move before the ball is moved. That's not how this works. Like, and not only that, but you gain an unfair advantage.
Exactly. Yeah.
The defensive line already has to, deal with a situation where they have to tackle the quarterback a certain way. They can't hit him late. You working your tail off for 3-4 seconds just for him to not have the ball in his hands by the time you get to him. But then the offensive lineman also gets an extra half step to work with. Yeah, that's just not fair. And I'm glad they started calling it late, but you got to keep that consistent, man.
I'm hoping that it becomes like a point of emphasis. NFL officiating every year, they kind of put out a memo of what they're going to be looking for. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if the memo this year gets an addendum that talks about, hey, we're really going to be looking at this, like, to make sure nobody's getting an unfair advantage, because it's basically cheating. It's blatant cheating if they're able to get away with stuff like that. Like, is it like malicious cheating? No, but like, it's still kind of getting away with something that they shouldn't. But Justus, some more news came out. It's before the season starts, so Sean McDermott got to make some announcements. We've got some new starters on this Buffalo Bills team. Some may not surprise you at all. Some may really surprise you. Let's start with the one that I think me and you both agree on, and that we kind of thought this was obvious, was going to be Osiris Torrance getting that right guard spot.
Shout out to everybody that were telling us, oh, no, Ryan Bass has got it on lock. He's better than Osiris Torrance. Osiris Torrance is not going to start. He's a rookie and all this other crap. Shout out to y'all.
Yeah. Osiris Torrance, like we said, in college, again, I watched him in Florida, absolute brick wall the entire time he was there. I knew when we drafted him that Ryan Bates was probably, after all the moves that had been done in the way that we had already heard that Osiris was looking in the preseason, I was like, Bates is just going to be the backup dude who's basically your backup center if Mitch Morse goes down. Like, that's everything. Yeah, he's backup everything. But, like, you know that he's come in at center before, and he was good at it. We actually, the offensive line didn't really miss a beat for whatever that's worth, because they still weren't very good. But, like, I still think that being able to have a quality dude that you could stick in at center if Mitch Morse goes down, which is almost an inevitability at this point with the amount of concussions he's had over his career. Like, it's a ticking time bomb every single play. So I think that that's good. I love Osiris Torrance. I think he's going to just be a godsend for Josh Allen. He might even really help out Spencer Brown this year. Like, I think that it was kind of inevitable that happened. The second one, and we'll start with the middle linebacker spot. Terrell Bernard is our starting middle linebacker
for now.
Justus, were you surprised by this?
Or... No. Well, after they cut AJ Klein, I wasn't surprised. I thought AJ Klein was going to be our middle linebacker to start the season just because he's a wily veteran. He knows the defense. He knows what's expected of him. He knows where to be on the football field. And I just don't know if those are things that Terrell Bernard, is super privy of as of right now. We saw in the preseason, Terrell Dodson didn't look amazing. There's just Twitter accounts that show him getting spun around multiple times. Sometimes multiple times.
What we thought he was. Sorry.
And, so it's not looking amazing for my boy T-Dot.
Yeah.
But, hey, man, Terrell Bernard, late round pick that we got last. Oh, no, he wasn't a late round pick. He
was a third rounder.
Yeah, early mid round pick last year. And, we had high hopes for him. And he didn't really get to play a ton last year. But this year, he's going to get his opportunity. And I really do hope he makes the most of it. Because, you never know. Like, this could end up being a situation where, like, I'm not going to say he's Micah Parsons, but where a guy like a Bobby Wagner, a guy comes in, late round pick, and, nobody really is expecting him to be good. And then he figures it out. It clicks. And now he's one of the best linebackers in the league. That'd be really nice.
I wasn't very surprised by this move. We kind of knew, like, Terrell Dodson, like, we've kind of seen what he can do because he's had moments where he's had to come in and play. And, it's kind of one of those situations where, like, what you have there. But last year, I think Dan Fates brought this up. I think it was his post that I saw, but was talking about how, Terrell Bernard was getting lots of snaps with the second team at middle linebacker last year, and how they were kind of, everybody thought, oh, he's going to be the Milano kind of backup, but they've kind of been training him like they knew that if they let Tremaine Edmonds go, that they were going to, want to slot him in that position. So they started really teaching him that. And I wasn't very surprised by it. Do I think it's a permanent thing? I don't know. We haven't seen enough from the kid yet. Everything we've heard is that he looked good in all the preseason stuff, but is that going to translate well into the regular season? Like we know, this is when it really counts. So is this when it's actually going to click for him? I don't know. That's why we picked up Christian Kirksey, because I think by week 3, if Terrell Bernard's not getting it, then Kirksey's going to slot right in there at middle linebacker.
Yeah, oh no, that's happening
Yeah,
regardless.
you think
Christian
so?
Kirksey
Yeah.
Christian Kirksey is going to be our starting middle linebacker by the second quarter of the season. By the start of the second quarter of the season, I'm sure he just has to pick up, pick up the slack as far as what he does and doesn't know, figure out what he
Get the
needs to do
language,
to.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hand signs and learn how to, be a leader of this particular group of men.
Yeah.
Because again, the middle linebacker is a premium role in this league on this team. A middle linebacker is basically the quarterback of your defense for the most part.
Yep.
So he's got to learn these guys. He's got to know what type of guys need to be motivated, what type of way. That was one beautiful thing about Tremaine Edmonds is he was drafted the exact same year as Josh Allen. So while Josh
Yep.
Allen was figuring out how to be a leader of this team and this offense, Tremaine Edmonds was also figuring out how to be a leader of this team and this defense. And he's taking all that wisdom and youth, the wisdom and youth. Y'all
And
keep saying,
youth.
hey, how are we gonna talk about how old he is? I'm gonna talk about how old he is until he's old, right?
Yeah. There you
Like
go.
the boy's like 24 years old and like a
Yeah.
12-year veteran. Like,
Ridiculous.
Man, people used to make me so mad with that.
Yeah,
But
dude's 1 year older than me, and he's a veteran technically, which is whack. But yeah,
insane.
crazy.
Insane. But yeah, man, I think that Terrell Bernard, look, man, I think that anybody in it's not a Leslie Frazier coach defense.
Oof.
See, that's the thing, man. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think I think for the most part, everybody would agree that Eric Bieniemy was not like the end all be all to the Chiefs offense, right?
Yeah.
But without Eric Bieniemy, they definitely didn't look amazing last night. Not offensively. Play calling wasn't horrible, but they made some bad play calls when they shouldn't have. Some really bad decision making, very Andy Reid characteristically. Very unlike Andy Reid characteristically. He made some 4th and 25 on your own end is insane.
I couldn't believe that. That was.
It was even more nuts that they almost converted it.
Dude, so I wanted to bring this up while we were talking about that as well, is that, I feel like now people are kind of seeing what happens when you have just, a really, really good quarterback who can make the plays, but you don't got receivers that can, or at least are having an off night, having a case of the drops, like Josh Allen's had to deal with it. Aaron Rodgers had to deal with it, and now not having that safety blanket of Travis Kelce that you can throw in his general direction and he's going to catch it in the middle of the field. Like, that's what happens. Receivers have off nights, and it just seemed like every single receiver for the Chiefs was having an off night last night.
And actually, yeah, that's a perfect example. I mean, and it wasn't. Noah Gray had a really good night. Noah Gray made some amazing plays, but I reckon that to Josh Allen's situation, right? When Stephon Diggs is being double and triple teamed, that's like Travis Kelce being taken out of the game, basically, right?
Yeah.
So then, what are you going to do after Stephon Diggs is doubled and triple teamed? You have to find someone else to, step up, and that's when your Gabriel Davis steps up. But
yeah,
Jake, we're biased, right?
Yeah, totally biased.
I will bet you money with the way people was crapping on Gabriel Davis at the end of last season, they would have if you would have took a poll, the national media would have said that Kadarius Toney is better than Gabriel Davis entering the season.
100%, yeah.
8 a.m. Thursday morning, if you took a poll, most of the country would say that Kadarius Toney is better than Gabriel Davis, which is a lie, but that's neither here nor there. My point is, Patrick Mahomes has a lot of safety valves, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It's not his fault. But, like, that has to be acknowledged when y'all want to do this little thing where y'all pretend he's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. And I'm not saying he's not. There's a possibility that he is. But to sit there and pretend Josh Allen is not in that conversation just because of your bias or preference or whatever the case may be, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. We've got one more new starter to talk about, Justus.
I'm sorry. I totally went
It's
off.
fine. It's fine. It's fine. We got right back into the Chiefs because we want to talk about that. You know, they lost last night and it was funny. But, you know, it's we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next segment. But this last one, dude, maybe it wasn't a surprise to you, but it was actually pretty surprising to me. Christian Benford winning the cornerback 2 spot.
Holy crap.
That is absolutely insane. In my brain, it's absolutely insane, but it's not an uncommon thing. Like late
oh, my bad. Go ahead, finish.
Oh, I'm just gonna say, like, we kind of know that he's kind of like more in line with what Sean McDermott wants, kind of just like scheme wise, and he's more athletic, definitely more athletic than Dane Jackson, who's again a super athlete. He's in the NFL for a reason, but like, I was very surprised. We've heard good things about Benford last year preseason, then he gets hurt kind of in the first game of the season, and then this year he has a really good offseason as well, and he wins the job. Justice, how are we feeling about Benford winning that CB2 job?
All right, so I'm not as so here's the thing for Benford, right? I feel like if Benford was like a 3rd round pick or something, I don't really think this would be like a big deal. No. I think the fact that he is a late round pick and the fact that Kyer Elam was such a high pick, drafted higher than even Tre'Davious White was, that it's expected for Kyer Elam to win the job and or be put on the field regardless, which I'm sure he'll be put on the field. But I think this is a bold move by McDermott to put Christian Benford at the CB2. Yeah. Although I'm glad because it means we have a few studs, I think it is a very bold move. I think that Christian Benford might be a more technical player right now than Kyer Elam is. But Kyer Elam's potential is through the roof. And not to say that Christian Benford's isn't, but it's certainly not as high as Kyer Elam. Kyer Elam has the size, the speed, the strength, the man position. The only thing he really struggles with, and he doesn't even struggle with it, he just isn't as good as some of the other quarterbacks on our roster with his own. That's really it. So I don't think that it's like an indictment against Kyer Elam or anything, but I do, like I said, I feel like it's bold on McDermott's part because I don't know, man. I'm not in that locker room with them, but I can imagine if I'm a college player, I'm coming from Florida, I'm going to Buffalo, New York. This team believes in me. And I get there. And, I'm getting acclimated. I get my jersey number. I'm 24. Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? A couple of days later, some weirdo is drafted out of like Villanova or something. I don't care. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't worried about him. He's a 17th round pick, And then you go into training camp and this bull is just like taking your job now. And then you go into the season. You have not a horrible season. Christian Benford, I feel like Kyer Elam, I feel like had a pretty decent season, especially with the limited opportunity he was given. He shut down some really good receivers at times that we really
They leaned on him in that playoff game against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, he really was able to keep up with Tyreek Hill, which is very much easier said than done.
Yeah.
And to go back in training camp and then to be beat out again. I've also got sources that tell me that his pops is not happy with him not receiving as much play time as he should. And first round pick is still an investment at this point. This is 2 years. This is only 2 years later. This is still an investment. And I don't think this is a Cody Ford situation because I really do believe that Christian Benford. Or I'm sorry, my goodness. I really do believe that Kyer Elam is very talented. I just don't think he's been given the appropriate opportunity at with his strengths are. And I would really, really hate to see us end up giving him away for like a 4th-round pick or something.
Yeah.
So I do want to see us use him the way he, is supposed to be or would like to be used. And I do feel like that I would like to see him at least given an opportunity, but they want to be very, very stubborn with this whole zone scheme,
Yeah.
despite it no longer being quote unquote Leslie Frazier's defense. I think we all know that last year it wasn't just Leslie Frazier's defense. It definitely had hints of McDermott, if not full-on McDermott recipes. And
Yeah.
I think that we're just going to see an extended version of that same exact defense, indicating that it really wasn't Leslie Frazier, or at least not all Leslie Frazier.
Yeah. I kind of thought that it was going to be an uphill battle for Kyer Elam when they drafted him because, like, I knew what this coaching staff prefers. We know what they prefer. And Bean went out and drafted a dude who mainly was a man corner. And it made me excited because I thought that, okay, we're going to evolve and be more aggressive and maybe not play zone as much. But I was completely wrong. They tried to convert Kyer Elam to be able to play in their zone, which isn't his game. And I don't like when teams do that, when they draft dudes who don't fit their scheme, but they think, oh, we can mold him into the scheme. It doesn't always work. So, do I think that he will still get opportunities? Yeah, I do. Whenever they want to play man, he will be on the field. Like, you're going to see, I think they're still going to platoon these guys. Just because they like to do that with the entire defense pretty much. Not as much defensive backs, but they do platoon in those positions. And I think that Kyer Elam, the story's not finished on him. The book's not written. So I think that there's still a chance that, in the next couple, maybe this year, what we'll see what happens if there's any, absolute improvement by him, or he really clicks and he can be trusted to be on the field in zone and man situations. He might get that nod and eventually be the dude who takes over the Dane Jackson spot, if that's what they really want and they really believe in Benford. But we'll see what happens after this year. I wasn't really surprised. I was more surprised that Benford beat out Dane Jackson, because I thought for sure they would probably, even if these guys were pretty much, neck and neck, they were going to go with the dude who's been in the system longer. But I'm glad to see that McDermott probably went out of his comfort zone a little bit, and they were like, no, we're going to put Benford as the starter. And that makes me think that he showed them something that is going to, we're going to see him on the field. We're going to be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. So, I don't think the story's written on Kyer yet. I think there's still a chance, but if anything, again, like you said, I'd hate to trade him for a 4th-round pick. But if after this year you're not going to really utilize him because he's a man corner, I think you do trade him. But we'll see when we get to that road. Justus, we were already talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I want to do this before we even talk about our matchup against the Jets on Monday, which we will be getting to shortly. A discussion that I've had with some people, I didn't do a poll this time, but does week 1 really matter? And not in a sense of win-loss, because it does matter for your record, but a team that you see immediately in week 1, does that indicate anything to what that team is going to be at the end of the year?
Indication. Indication is an interesting word. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it necessarily indicates anything particular. However, I will say that I believe I believe momentum is a real thing. I am one of those weirdos that does believe in momentum. I know that when I wake up in the morning and I drink a glass of water as soon as I wake up and I don't touch my phone, and I am getting work done early and I'm feeling good. I know that that travels with me for the rest of the day, and I'm going to have a good and productive day because I started off right. And I do believe that that's a real thing. I've experienced it personally. I think the same thing in football. I think that if the Lions go out last night and they lose that game 49-10,
Mm-hmm.
I think you will see a completely different Lions team for the remainder of this year than you will see, since they won, right? I think, excuse me, because no matter what happens next week, they still get to go through the rest of the year saying, "Hey, we hung an L on the champs," um,
Yeah.
and that's going to be something that they get to put on their resume. So now, if they have 7 wins by week 11, all right, cool, we got that, and we put an L on the champs. And I
Yeah.
think that that's a real thing, and I think that people build off that, and I think that the Lions will. So I think that it really depends on the team, the situation. Like, um, the Bills going into beating the defending champions last year, then they went on to mollywop their next 3 opponents or something like that. Um, but then again, like you come back to reality. Of course, things happen in waves, but I do think that the momentum you gain from a week 1 win can be carried with
Mm-hmm.
you, throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all on that matter. Uh, do I think it is an indication? No, because we've seen so many times that a team will start out the season flat, and by the time November, December rolls around, they're a team that is going to make a run in the playoffs. So, does week 1 matter in the stats column? Yeah, it does. But I think that a lot of teams are really just trying to figure it out in week 1. Sometimes because you do a lot of stuff, a lot of tweaking in the off season, things change. So yeah, I think that you can build momentum definitely off of a week 1 win. Definitely you build momentum off of that and stuff. Does week 1 matter in a sense in relative to what that team is going to finish the year like? I don't really think so at all. Uh, and I believe in the comments section, yeah. So the new starters section, trying to trying to bail us out. There are more new starters.
Hmm.
We were more or less talking about like the the ones that are new to being starters.
Right.
So, I mean, we could talk about Hardy. I feel like that doesn't surprise me in that role. Does that surprise you, Justice? I mean, I kind of knew that he was kind of brought in to be a sure-handed Isaiah McKenzie replacement.
Yeah, and then when you take into consideration what he was able to do during training camp and in the preseason, he looked really good. He
Yeah,
made a lot of plays. When we were fiending for some football, some really good throws from Josh and some really good catches from Hardy really were able to hold us, over the edge until we were able to get, back into this first week here. But they gave us a lot of good game or a lot of good clips, and I
yeah,
think that that was only going to pan out well, knowing that he could trust him when he throws the ball to him.
yeah. And I believe the other one is Connor McGovern at left guard. Um, that
Oh, he was
doesn't
that though.
like that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, we were
You
calling
know,
that as soon as he got signed.
yeah, like the money they gave him, and you knew that anything had to be better than what we had in Roger Saffold. So And prayers out to Roger Saffold. He's going through some stuff right now, I guess, something with his family. Prayers up to him, but he wasn't very good last year, to be frank. So Connor McGovern winning that spot after what they paid him, I really like that set there with McGovern and Edwards behind him. Like, yeah. I just love that Dion Dawkins is now going to have a guy next to him that is like a dude who has been a legit starter in this league. Like, and Roger Saffold was one of those dudes, but I think Connor McGovern is going to do a more consistent job next to him, and that's really going to help out Dion quite a bit this year.
Yeah, not having a liability next to him is going to allow him to breathe a little easier, to focus on what he's doing a little more, and to be able to make some more plays.
Yeah, exactly. So that gets us to the big one, Justus. The Buffalo Bills play their first game this week. I'm not sure if you knew that, but now that you are aware, we have talked about the Jet. Like, I've kind of been structuring the shows that we do to like really not talk about this game much, because I wanted to save it until we got to game week. So now that we know that we're playing them, Monday Night Football, they've got Aaron Rodgers now. It's going to be that same defense that was there last year for the most part. Preliminary thoughts going into this game, Justus. Not talking about how the national media is covering it, but just kind of like how the teams are probably feeling going into this matchup.
So what I was thinking about this matchup before I heard any of everybody say that the Jets were going to win.
Yeah.
When I thought about this matchup, I thought about, all right, we got a Jets team that lost their last 6 games last season. We got a quarterback who brought along some wide receivers from a team who weren't very much better than the Jets were last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mix them up. So you take garbage and you mix it with garbage and you get a Super Bowl contender, apparently. I don't know how that worked, but that's what is apparently being told to us. But you not only do you get a Super Bowl contender, but you get a Super Bowl contender before they even step on the grass.
Yeah.
As a unit. And I think that's very interesting for people who say that they're going to take over the AFC East. And you know who they remind me a lot of? There's this team out and they live in like mountains or something. And you like, when you go there, it's like real high altitude, so you can't breathe real well. And they got this dude who, that's Broncos country, let's ride. You know what I mean? Like, they remind me of that team. They remind me of that team. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what everybody's reaction is when they won 8 games. And you know what? It's not going to be interesting because people are just going to be like, well, the Bills was supposed to win their division. They still can't beat the Chiefs. That's exactly what's going to happen because the Jets are no longer going to be national media darlings because they live in New York, obviously. The media is going to be all over them, especially when they think they're going to be good.
Yeah.
The attention will swing to the Giants, and the Jets will be an afterthought. All right, so let me answer your actual question. What I thought about this game. I think that the Jets played the Bills tough last year. You know who else played the Bills tough last year? The Dolphins.
Yep.
And the Patriots, they were competitive last year as opposed to the years before. And I think that the Bills were extremely inconsistent last year. I think that had less to do with the Jets just having the Bills number or the Dolphins just having the Bills number or the Patriots having the Bills number and more to do with the Bills just shooting themselves in the foot way too often. You know what I mean? Like you shoot yourself in the foot so many times, you're not going to be able to run anymore. And, they lost their balance a couple times. And still won the AFC East handily. You know what I mean? So, hey, before we go crowning a new champion. You still got to walk up to the throne, step up onto the throne, take the crown off of my head, pull me out the throne, sit in it, and then crown yourself. There's a lot of steps for somebody standing at the bottom of the steps as I sit upon my throne.
Well said, Justus. Well said. You know, I'm old enough to remember when last year the Buffalo Bills were facing the Super Bowl champion, Los Angeles Rams, in the first game of the season. And it was, oh, well, the Bills, they don't have a chance here. We were worried about the game. We didn't know what we were going to see. You know, Brian Daboll had left, and we were having Ken Dorsey. And what happened? Absolute destruction. Like, it was way above our it was above my expectation for what we were going to see that team with a new offensive coordinator. I'm also old enough to remember when we had won the AFC East for the first time in however long it was, 17, 18 years, or even longer, 20 something. And the Patriots go out and draft Mac Jones. And what do we hear? Oh, Bill Belichick's got his guy. Oh, the New England Patriots. They're going to be that team. They're going to come right back.
That's the next Tom Brady.
He's the next Tom Brady. And what's going to happen? Well, they made it to the playoffs. He threw one pass in a game in an absolute windstorm in Buffalo and won one. And then what happened in the playoffs? I mean, I think you can remind me about that, Justus. What happened in the playoffs?
Nothing good.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened in the playoffs for them. I'm old enough to remember the Miami Dolphins last year. Oh, they got Tyreek Hill. It's over for the Bills. Oh, it's over for them. What happened? Bills win their division. Bills beat the Dolphins in the playoff. Barely, but there was a whole lot of factors. They still win. Dub's a dub. Didn't happen. So now it's this year with the Jets. Oh, they've got Aaron Rodgers. Oh, their defense is so good. Okay, all right. I got to see it. Because the last 3 times that this has happened, where there's a team that's going to take back the AFC East from the Buffalo Bills, it hasn't happened. They don't live up to the hype. They barely make the playoffs, and usually they end up having to play us in the playoffs, and it doesn't end up well for them.
Nope.
So, like, I just don't know how, and you know me, I've been hyping up the Jets the last 2 years. You know, I've been loving the way that they do their rebuild, everything. I love what they've done, and they went out and they finally had all of the pieces that they really needed. And they said, you know what, except an offensive line. But they said, all right, let's go get a quarterback. Let's make a run. All right. They put all of their chips. They went all in. They're going all in. That's what they're doing with Aaron Rodgers. And they're going to be a good team this year. If anybody watched our show last week, I know there was a problem with the replay on Twitter, so not a lot of people could watch it. But if you go back and watch that show, we kind of talked about where I think the floor for them is. And I still think that they're a playoff team. I think they are. I think Aaron Rodgers is significantly better than Zach Wilson. Do I think that he is going to absolutely turn the team around? No, I don't think so. Russell Wilson was supposed to do that last year. I love that you brought up the Denver Broncos because this situation mirrors that almost exactly, except the fact that, you know, Robert Saleh is not a brand new head coach. I think that there's so much room for error with the Jets. And you kind of just see the mentality of the team in Hard Knocks, and it feels so manufactured. I don't know if you've watched much of Hard Knocks. It is hard to watch because it's the Jets, but it's so manufactured. Like, they're like, everybody's doubting us. There's no way in hell none of those dudes aren't on Twitter all day and seeing all the posts that are about the Jets being Super Bowl favorites. And it's the same thing the Bills were dealing with last year. But the thing is, the Jets have never been in a position to deserve that respect yet, So I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not going to be a good team, but we need to get into this game and kind of the matchups and how we think this game is really going to, shape up to be. So let's start off with the Bills offense versus the Jets defense. Justus, how do you think this matchup is going to fare?
Bills offense versus Jets defense?
Yeah.
So I think that one thing when you look at the Bills offense last year you had to deal with was the fact that the Bills were bottom third of the league. Bump that. They were like bottom fifth of the league. It was bad. They were bottom of the league in terms of yards after the catch. And Brandon Beane made a concerted effort this offseason to change that, right? He went and he got excuse me, sorry.
He's back. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know if I can.
Hey, there you go. You're full now.
A little bit better. I'll look at Josh in the back. So they made a concerted effort to change that, right? With the addition of Khalil Shakir, or a more prominent role, right? The addition of Trent Sherfield and like your boy, as you mentioned, the new starter, Hardy.
Yeah.
And Dalton Kincaid, who is a guy who can catch the ball, break some tackles, and get some extra yardage. Stephon Diggs, of course, Gabriel Davis, those goes without saying. But then even your guys out of the backfield, James Cook is a receiving threat who also can run after the catch. Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, short down back. So when I look at the philosophy or the theoretical philosophy of this offense, I think that the Jets have a really good defense, but you can have a great defense and all that is fine and dandy. But, but you say Candyman's name 3 times, he appears. All right. Listen, in 17 going to pop up out that mirror. So just be careful of what you wish for. Just be careful of what you say. Because you think your best player is, Chris Jones, whatever the case may be. Once that guy gets a stiff arm, I'm sorry, not Chris Jones, Quinnen Williams. Once that guy gets a stiff arm to his face, and then the ball is going over May's head, and it gets bad sometimes. Sometimes it gets rough. And I think that the Bills' offense is going to have a little bit more firepower with Ken Dorsey coming into his second year. He learned he had made some mistakes. He learned from them. He's got a whole new game plan. Josh is another year older. I still got confidence in the Bills to be able to handle the Jets' defense handily.
So when I think about the Jets' defense, Justus, that defensive line is going to get after it regardless, because I don't think they're going to be able to do it as easy this year because of the upgrades and the money that the Bills have spent and assets they've spent on the offensive line. And I think that thinking of the philosophy that the Jets are probably going to try to do is they're going to double Diggs. They're going to have DJ Reid in a safety going on Diggs, and then they're going to have Davis against Sauce Gardner. That's what they're probably going to do, and they're going to invite anybody that I'm sorry, spin kind of feel like the first play Torrance gives up a sack just because he hasn't given up a sack yet, not even in college.
That would be some very NFL stuff.
Yeah, that would be your welcome to the NFL moment. The first sack he's ever let up. But I really think that what we're going to see is, all right, now you need these other guys to step up. And this is where everything becomes key of all the moves they've made in the offseason. If those two guys, because as much as I hate Sauce Gardner because he's from Cincinnati and I'm a UCF fan, I got to give him his respect. Dude's very sticky in coverage. He's very handsy too. He gets away with a lot of holds, but that's nothing new that I'm saying here because everybody sees it. But him against Gabriel Davis, that's a good matchup. And it's actually one that we have seen before. So but it's definitely something that when I look at the way they're going to play, you're going to have to rely on guys like Deontay Hardy that you just brought in. You're going to have to rely on Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid, however you kind of set up your scheme of how you're going to attack. I think they're going to have to effectively run the ball. If not, they're going to have to utilize the running backs in some sort of passing capacity because you know that the Jets are going to basically, they've got a good secondary. They're going to try to shut you down. So you got to be ready to play the short, quick game against the Jets. And I think that the Bills will be ready for it because the additions that they have made prepare them better for it than they were last year.
Yeah, their current offensive roster, lends itself to being one of those quick pass, screen pit play type of offenses. It's speed to go around, shiftiness to go around, and then you got a guy with a howitzer for an arm.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of brings us into what do we think this Jets offense is going to do against this Bills defense? So, Justus, we kind of know what their offense, what they're like. They've got some new weapons. I mean, we can't say that it's the same Jets team we met last year because it's not. They've got Aaron Rodgers back there now. I know the offensive line is comparable or even worse than what he had in Green Bay. And in the preseason, we already saw a couple of times where Rodgers was not too happy with the way his offensive line was blocking for him. But how do you think this Bills defensive line is going to get after Aaron Rodgers?
Well, that's where you gotta hope that Gregory Rousseau is, ready to step into that new role as a stud rusher. You gotta hope that Leonard Floyd is able to come in and give a comparable production value that a Von Miller would, or something that at least can hold us over until Von Miller comes back. And then we can get that rotation going. This is where you got to hope that AJ Epinesa is trying to break the bank this offseason and get him a new contract. This is where you got to hope that, Tim Settle and Poona Ford and, these guys are ready to ball. And, Poona Ford looked like he always ready to ball. Tim Settle out there looking good too. The interior of the line has been our weakness for a little while now. And I think that we got a couple good pieces that's going to help us fix that issue, mainly being Poona Ford, and then him and Tim Settle together, Daquan Jones, and is Daquan Jones still there?
Yeah, I believe we still have Daquan Jones,
and then again Jordan Phillips as well. I think that that's what you're going to have because they're not going to rush more than 4, and if they do, it's definitely not going to be more than 5. You're still going to have Teron Johnson on the field in the slot. So they're probably going to rely mainly on the 4 down linemen to get to the quarterback. And I feel like a lot of that pressure is greatly going to come up the middle up until 40 can come back.
Yeah, and I think right now the way that the Jets are probably going to attack is Aaron Rodgers is going to get that ball off quick. It's something that he's been able to do his whole career is have that quick trigger. And having a guy like Garrett Wilson is going to be absolutely paramount that we don't let him get anywhere close to getting started. And I really feel like they're going to try to run it on us. I truly do think that they're going to go back, look at the tape last year. And even though they always say, well, last year's tape, that's a completely different team this year. Like, they're going to be like, oh, well, historically, they've been able to run on the Buffalo Bills. They have. And now they have Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. I think they're going to try to establish that run game, but I think the Bills bringing in a guy like Leonard Floyd, who's adept at stopping the run, and a guy like Poona Ford, who's really good at stopping the run, is really going to kind of dissolve that theory that a lot of teams have that you can just run all over the Bills. Hopefully, I am praying that that is true when I say that. But everything that they've done, all the moves that they made have indicated that that is what should happen. But who knows? I think that our corners are probably going to do well against guys like if you've got Tre'Davious White, depending on where he is on the field, they're probably going to want to line him up against Garrett Wilson. Or if they don't, they're going to have him over on Allen Lazard. And they're probably going to have a guy like Benford over on Garrett Wilson, which I don't know if that's the best option there. But still, I think that they've got weapons, but they're really going to need to utilize. I think over the middle of the field is going to be where they need to really focus, because that's something that they've historically been able to do. And you got a guy in Terrell Bernard who isn't the most established guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where they could attack, and the weakness could be in the middle of the field. But I think that the Jets are still a team that you got to look at. And this is the first time we're going to be seeing what really this offense is going to look like led under Aaron Rodgers. So I think that it's still going to be a really good matchup, but I think the Bills are better prepared for them this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills are better prepared for everyone. You're shoring up the trenches, which is, again, where our weaknesses always lie. We've always had great skill players, great secondary players. We had terrific linebackers up until, Tremaine left. And
Yeah.
our weaknesses were the offensive and defensive line. I think that we have made strides to clean that up, and, a much stronger offensive line. And obviously, you fortify the defensive line, bringing in some more pieces to make it even more ferocious, and knock some guys on their ass. And I think that that's what we're going to see. I think that immediately upon Aaron Rodgers stepping out onto the field, he's probably going to complete a big pass over the middle. Everything's going to look good. The stadium's going to be rocking. And then they end up going down and they end up kicking a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the Buffalo Bills come down and, Josh Allen does some crazy stuff, and then we end up scoring a touchdown. And, but it's okay because Aaron Rodgers come back onto the field, except this time they punt. And you see where I'm going from there. I think that it's going to be like Aaron Rodgers is still a GOAT. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to get like shut out or anything, but I just don't think that he has the talent around him to be able to just come out and just bully a Bills defense.
Yeah. They're not a pushover defense. You're still going to have to work to try to score against them. Just ask a lot of the other teams that they've had to play in the play. Like this defense is still one of the best units in the league. And this gets us into our predictions, Justice. We'll kind of do a couple of different predictions. I think the first one is going to be which quarterback is going to have the better night, Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers?
I'm going to say Josh Allen, just off of the strength that Josh doesn't have two superstar running backs in his backfield. And I think that they're going to be feeding Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook a lot, trying to get them going. And I don't think it'll work too well. but I think that Aaron Rodgers performing is going to kind of be like a last resort type of thing. I think they're going to try to force the run through the first 2 quarters, and then once they realize that they're down by a 10 or a 17 or 14, whatever the case may be, they say, okay, let's scrap this crap. We got to go and let the ball fly. But I think that Josh is going to have the better game here because there is no safety valve for him. He doesn't have a safety net. He has to basically get it off the mud. He got to do it on his own. So I think he's going to have the more productive game.
Yeah, you kind of took the words, kind of the ideas out of my brain. Was that when I think about the way that the Jets have played in the past with their quarterbacks, I don't think that they're going to just absolutely abandon trying to establish any kind of run game. When you got a guy like Dalvin Cook in the backfield and a dude like Breece Hall, they're going to be handing the ball off. I don't think this is, and I think Josh Allen, and we know this offense, they really like to pass the ball. So I think that Josh Allen overall will have the better stats overall. Do I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be significantly less in the stat? No. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a similar stat line. But the next one is, what team is going to have more rushing yards, Justus?
Ironically enough, I think it's going to be the Bills again. I think that Josh Allen is going to contribute greatly to that. I can see Josh having a slight 72 yards rushing. James Cook probably is going to give you like another 70 to 80. And I think you're going to see some Latavius Murray and Damian Harris sprinkled in there as well.
Okay, I wanted to go with the Bills again here, but I was really thinking about every time we watch the Buffalo Bills play somebody who's got a really good running back, they always, for some reason, let up just one big run.
Yeah.
And that massively inflates the rushing yards of the other team.
And the per rush average.
Yeah. So I think that this could really be a game where Josh Allen gets good protection and he's not going to have to run as much. And I think that this could be a game where, like, the rushing stats are Bills have 130, the Jets have 150. Like, I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be significantly different, kind of like what I'm saying with the quarterback stats, but I think it'll probably be in that range. It's probably going to be in the 100s for both teams.
So real quick, one more thing I want to say. I think that my belief that the Bills are going to outscore the Jets is going to be to play a big factor in terms of the Bills having more rushing yards because, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, where the Jets have to now throw the ball in order to try to get back into the game. And hopefully Ken Dorsey is smart enough to rely on his run game and try to, melt the clock away. So, that greatly contributes to my thought process.
Those were some of my favorite games where, we were up big, and that's when James Cook or Devin Singletary were just getting the ball and running efficiently, and you were like, oh, okay, cool. We're trying to ice this game. So I'm really hoping to see that. It could be a possibility, but we have to give our score predictions, Justus, of how we think this game is going to go, because most of the picks that I've seen of people that actually had to put scores down for it when they pick the Jets, not just say they pick the Jets to win, they have it like 24-21 this game. Like, it's like really close because I think they're just thinking they think the defenses are going to stifle these offenses. I personally think the Jets will score 21 points, but the Bills are going to win 35-21.
Okay.
I think that's what the score is going to be. The Jets are still going to get their scores in. That's 3 touchdowns. I could definitely see it too. I can already see Dalvin Cook and them just Dalvin Cook doing a nice walk into the end zone. And then you're like, oh, okay. And the Meadowlands goes crazy, whatever. Like, I can see that play in my head, and I know that that's probably the play that gets them to 21, and maybe the Bills at that point have 28, and it's like, oh, we've got ourselves a game, and then the Bills march down and score that last touchdown where it's like, oh shit, okay, all right. So yeah, I have it 35-21 Bills. What are you thinking?
I'm trying to think. I'm sorry. Oh man, this is a toughie. I'm not usually good with scores
Yeah.
because you know me, I'm a supreme believer, right? I'm the guy who says I'm being humble, and then I say that the Bills are going to go 16-1,
Undefeated.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to like be a complete homer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say the Bills win 37-13.
Okay. All right. 30. Wait, what'd you say? Say that one more time.
37-13. So not a complete blowout, but
Okay.
just enough to be like, shut your filthy mouth. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're getting some comments in here. Sarah says 27-17. Likes my prediction. I would love my prediction to come true. But 27-17, I'd still be happy with that win. You know, like that's still 10 points over a score.
Right.
Let's see. Robbie's got his in 35-27. Okay. Yeah, giving the Jets a couple of field goals there. I can see. What else we got? Spin 34-17. Okay. All right. So a lot of people thinking high 20s, 30s is probably where the Bills are because, I mean, the Bills, their average is like it proves that, yeah, they can get up into those ranges. So, yeah, spin Jets garbage time touchdown. So they're going to have 10 and they get a garbage time touchdown at the end. They want you to clarify, Justus. You're saying 37-13?
Yes. Sorry, guys. I don't have my laptop. I don't have my mic on. It's been a long day. But yeah, I think 37-13.
Because if that's holding Super Bowl, because yeah, if you're holding back saying 37-13,
Yeah, I'm not gonna say what I really think it's gonna be.
Justus thinks the 50 burgers coming. But yeah, let's see. It's supposed to be a defensive game, but those always end up scoring a lot. It is like when it's like, oh, these two are really good defenses. It just really seems to be that the offenses go, nah.
Just like the Chiefs and the Lions last night, two of the top 5 scoring offenses from last year, and they had a low scoring game.
Exactly. But Justus, we've got our predictions in. We've talked about the Jets. We've talked about all the new things that are going on around the league and on the team. We've talked about week 1 if it really matters. But now it's time for the wrap up. The saddest part of the show, because that means that it's almost over. And we're going to have to wait 7 more days for all of us to be together again. But Justus, you're the best at this. Get us out of here, brother.
Man, sad for a show to come to an end, of course. Favorite time of the week outside of actually watching the physical Bills game.
True.
I look forward to a great season alongside my partner over here, Jake. We're going to be bringing you guys the best content here, not only here on Built Different, but the Buffalo FAMbase network in general. We got a lot of great shows. We got a lot of great people. Shout out to Robbie, the newest member of the family. And yeah, guys, you guys really should be as excited as we are because it's going to be a hell of a season. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys show us all the love and support. I can't speak for Jake, but I know that it was hard for me to fathom, just how much support you guys have given us over these years, and it is greatly appreciated. You guys have no idea. every like, comment, subscription, retweet, repost, share. Every time you share, every super chat, just every view.
Yeah.
Every time you guys talk about it and say, "Oh yeah, man, I'm gonna catch your podcast," like I appreciate that. That's love, and we love you guys back. So for my guy Jake Jordan, I am Justice General Rafford, not Justice the General. Although Mookie got that stuck in my head. I am my real name is Justice General Rafford. All right, but we are going to see you guys next week. Make sure, of course, you guys tune in to all the other great shows on the Buffalo FAMbase. But this is the official network of the original Bills Mafia, and we are out. Go Bills.
Go